Hello, everybody, and welcome to Talking Teal, episode 8. I'm Liron Cohen.
And I'm Mimi Torchin.
That's 8.
That's 8.
Hi, everybody. We are so excited. What an episode. I mean,
my heart is still beating a little bit too fast.
It's a treat to be talking about a show of this magnitude as it is, but this episode is really the embodiment of everything that Wentworth is so good at. So
I think it's the best episode of anything I've ever seen, and as you know, I'm always raving about something being the best thing I've ever seen. I think this is it.
Yeah?
Oh yeah, I think this is it.
It definitely has to go up into the 10 best.
The panoply of greatness, yes.
And we're going to talk all about it. But first of all, we want to show you our t-shirts. Let me try and show them what's behind me. I don't know if you can see, but
what was that?
That was Louise.
I thought a bird
we made these especially for us, but we do have 5 different Talking Teal shirts for you, and I'll just tell you what they are.
And we don't make money on them, by the way.
No, it's to spread the love, the Wentworth / Talking Teal / Lady Parts love. So we have I'm Not Obsessed, I'm Invested. Mm-hmm. We have Talking Teal Native Speaker. We have They're Arrested, We're Invested. I mean, you came up with that one. Almost Like Being on the Inside. And for all of you fabulous people, Contributing Writer.
Yes.
So do go to zazzle.com/ladyparts and check them out. And if
they're not always fast, but they're good.
Yeah, and you know what the thing is that they're fully customizable. We made these
exactly
whatever
the way we wanted.
Yeah, whatever shirts we wanted, whatever color we wanted, and sometimes they need a little nudge. If they don't deliver on time, just give them a call. They'll expedite your service. But they're what they offer is unparalleled out there. So anyway, we can't wait to see you all in your Talking Teal t-shirt. So make sure to send us a picture if you buy one. Thank you also for participating in our Dub Smash Challenge.
Oh, it was so much fun. You guys are brilliant. And you're fantastic.
We added lines from episode 8 because there were so many good ones. So do go and continue to do them and share them with us. We love them. We kind of went bonanza with them also ourselves. We will have a special Bridget Westphal challenge for you today. Just to show you how excited this episode got everybody going, I have 47 pages of email. Out of them, 9 people are first-time writers. This episode obviously got everybody motivated to talk. So happy to find so many new people writing to us, and keep it up. And of course, we love our regular writers, so thank you.
Can you hear the cardinal chirping in the background?
I just want to say, with 47 pages of emails, we were supposed to try to make this short this time. Not sure it's the best week to try to do that.
Not going to happen. So get in some snacks. Make sure you have plenty of water to keep hydrated.
Okay. So, episode 8.
Wow.
I think it was wow kind of from beginning to end.
From beginning. And I think that the arc that it took was so fantastic because the notes that I made as I went along, it starts off, I wrote this right away, it starts off so light. The yard is light, and Bea and Allie are happy and falling in love. The girls are laughing. The bright sunlight is streaming everywhere.
Dreamy music.
Bea is like at her most childlike and lighthearted that she's been in it since I ever remember her. It's shot very delicately. It's written very delicately. So it's a very stark transition from where it starts to where it ends, I'll tell you. And it
slowly,
builds.
Yeah.
It's a very slow build, but it's a very obvious transition that they make when you go back and look for it. You don't notice it as you're watching it, but it's so magnificent. Every detail is plotted and to make this perfect whole.
We will get more into the specific of this later, but I just want to say that in terms of the crafts of making this episode, I think as a TV viewer and a TV fan, as I like to call myself, a TV connoisseur, this was, by the end of the episode, I was climaxing.
Yeah.
It was orgasmic. It was
Really?
that. It was everything came together in, I think, the best way anybody could ever wish for. The writing, the directing, the cinematography, the editing, the music, the makeup, the choreography. It was all.
It was breathtaking. It coalesced into this perfect whole. Each one. I've always said that I think that filmmaking and television falls into that category, but is like one of the greatest of all arts, because there are so many elements and hours of film and planning that go into this either 1 or 2 hour masterpiece, if it's good, and of course this is great. That it's hard to imagine all these little bits and pieces just making this perfect picture. It's like a puzzle, and each piece has to fit perfectly. And this was a perfect episode. And I mean, there were some little things which we could, but in general,
and the acting.
Oh my God!
Superb acting. I mean,
by everybody, every single
one
person.
Yes, and this episode really, as Betty mentioned, a first-time writer, really took the best advantage of every single one of these actors and characters, and thankfully they left Doreen pretty much out of the picture, which really helped make this episode good.
Doreen.
I'm so sorry, Doreen, but this year it's all about you staying away. But really, everybody came together and made this into really a masterpiece. I think everybody said, just forget about the Logies next year. Just give them all to Wentworth. Don't even bother nominating anybody else. Just send them this episode. Personally, I think that
Katrina
Milosevic.
Oh my God!
Is really the unsung hero of this season.
Logie winning year. Yeah. I really, really do.
Yeah, and I don't understand why the Emmys have not acknowledged Wentworth. I don't know if Wentworth don't submit themselves.
Let me just say 2 words.
Yeah.
Tatiana Maslany.
Well, but Tatiana Maslany is sci-fi, and we know that the Emmys are snobs about sci-fi.
Well, this is an Australian prison drama.
If they can give Orange is the New Black Emmys, they certainly should at least nominate Wentworth. I don't know if Wentworth don't submit themselves, because I think that by being on Netflix, they qualify.
Of course.
I sure hope
doesn't
that Netflix...
matter that you're not American made, because we have many British dramas that win things.
I sure hope that Netflix doesn't wait 6 months this year to bring the new season over, because I know that a lot of people are waiting. So, and by the way,
a lot of people aren't Netflix, so you really should.
And I called them last year. How many times did I call them and I say, every day that you're waiting,
and they just didn't listen to her.
Can you believe
Imagine that?
What a clue, people.
I said I was that Liron Cullen chick again.
Okay, so we are going to go into the emails, and then we'll talk about some very specific things.
I had a thing a little comment that I wrote down was that every single scene was like a separate jewel in the crown that was this complete episode, the crowning episode, and everything was just gem-like. It was a perfect scene into itself that, again, coalesced into this brilliant whole. It was just amazing.
You know what? I think that Michael Lucas, the writer of this episode, and Adrian Russell Wills, who was the director, did a phenomenal job. In terms of the writing, this is some of the best writing I've ever seen on television.
Ever.
Always, but especially
in
this
any
episode.
country, any genre, anything.
Some of the lines, some of the little touches, the little choices of words. And when we get to the scene, and I know you know.
That was one of my favorite scenes in the whole thing. Just tiny little scene, but Tina taking down Joan intellectually was just so fabulous. And I love that she isn't cowed by her one bit.
It's such a shame that she couldn't say we don't deal with governors and stay with it, except then you flash a little money and she's like, well, maybe we do deal with governors. Yeah, I know. And
but she still didn't give her any respect.
She's not the person to have any scruples, I know. But
she didn't give her any respect, right. And I love that.
Anyway, so when we get to the scene, there are some beautiful things there. And every choice that the director made this episode. I mean, we're going to talk about the separate elements, but of course the director is the one who truly makes all the decisions and brings everybody together. So phenomenal work on both of you. Absolutely. Again, I mean, we did this last week. Certainly this week.
This we're down on our knees doing it. Show us how low to go.
Okay, so Doris did say that another person echoed it, so I guess she did. I mean, I'm sorry, Doris, that I don't remember all the way back to first episode, but she did call it that Kaz was going to find out that the freak shopped her to the cops. We'll see. You know, in those final moments when Kaz comes and you see her and Oliver just falling apart, not falling apart, but
she was like
a lioness,
rage, just raging. It was unbelievable.
Let's do this. You fucking psychotic bitch!
That was my best dubs match ever.
Yeah,
I did it.
That was good. Anyway,
psychotic.
It seems like when Kaz is on the right side of things, then Joan might have found her match in terms of what she. I mean, she's not as smart.
She's not as subtle.
She's not as
Joan.
smart. She's not as subtle. She's not as
but she's committed.
Calculated. But her rage, And Doris, by the way, I'm just going to put it out there, said that it might be a little bit late in the season, but she thinks we need a Talking Teal theme song. So I'm putting it out there. If you write it, we'll sing it. So let us know if you have something.
I'll play the tambourine.
Also a good opportunity to say thank you, a huge thank you to Doris, who's been helping us with a lot of tech issues. We are really, really trying, and we're really hoping to give you a live broadcast Talking Teal at the end of the season.
But we're not promising.
No, we're not promising because it's a lot to pull off. So
don't buy a dress for the red carpet or anything yet, or a pair of tux or whatever it is that is your
preferred
black tie choice.
However, in case it does happen, please write to us and tell us what you think. First of all, if you're interested in it, if it's something that excites you, if what you want to see, what you hope that will happen. So please let us know your thoughts. And thank you again, Doris. Okay, so Judith says that the freaks plan was flawless, and actually we think the opposite. We think that the plan was full of holes and flaws and places where it could have gone wrong.
So many places it could have gone wrong. It was if it hadn't been for again pieces of the puzzle. I've written scripts and I know exactly how you have to. Everything has to have a meaning and has to sort of be echoed later on in a thing. And the way that I think he was the prosecutor. Anyway,
I think it was the PR. I mean, I don't know if it was.
We didn't even know what it was, but B, when she was getting her deal in writing, said she had one more thing that she needed. Then it turns out to have been she wanted the tape of the 911.
I don't know if it's the 911. No, whatever the Australian
shopping that was ratting on Kaz. Jackson realizes the importance of it. He snatches it. He runs to play it for Kaz. This was planted early on, the seed of that scene, and that was, of course, the final undoing. But had it not been for that, she would have gotten away with it.
But to me, it was really the small things. First of all, I really think the weakest part of the episode was Boomer being sent to the slot for calling Vera Vinegar Tits. Please. How many times have Vera been called Vinegar Tits? She was emotional. She had just seen her friend go and was refused to go with her.
Vera knew that.
Operation. And Joan whispering, again, the Joan whisper. Joan whispering to Boomer, oh, she's so weak. I can't see how...
I would have never allowed that to happen.
Well, I can't see how Joan would have thought that just by whispering in her ear, she would
set her off like a bomb.
To be slotted and get her out of the way. So that, to me, was the weakest part of the episode. Then, of course, there was no guarantee that Bea was going to finish drinking her juice. And that was actually a brilliant scene.
That was a great scene, though, because I knew she would do it, because otherwise how could it happen? And we knew something was going to happen. But the fact that she left her drink there. And the close-ups on Joan, on Kaz, on Bea, looking at everybody's looking at what's gonna happen, and then in slow motion, her coming back to finish drinking her juice. So, I mean, there's drama, so of course the things have to work out in such a way.
Yeah, but also, the fact that, and some of you raised this, that nobody said when Kaz was taking her whole posse and the rest of the prison to do the sit-in. Yeah, where's Joan? She's practically Kaz's shadow these days. Where is she? And actually, she's big enough to be her shadow.
She's big enough to overshadow her.
So actually, I think the plan was full of flaws and holes. But it could have gone in different ways. To me, the only weak part was that Joan could not have anticipated or could not have relied on the fact that Boomer would immediately be slaughtered for such a small, minor offense. And actually, Kaz and B had a whole fight, and neither of them got slaughtered.
No, and Boomer actually, it wasn't even necessary for Boomer because B was going to go meet Allie on her own anyway. She wasn't going to bring Boomer with her, so that wasn't even really necessary.
Well, Joan wanted to make sure that everybody was taken care of so that her crew is away and that there's nobody to come to her rescue. Yes. And actually that was smart, but maybe that's true. Maybe she was hoping that Boomer would get slaughtered, but it wasn't entirely necessary, so the plan could have gone ahead even if she hadn't.
May I just say that Sigrid Thornton rocks my socks. I love her, and I can't wait to see the full power of her, the full force of her power when we find out who she really is.
So on that, I actually made a list because there were a lot of things that you all agreed on, and there were quite a few things that you were kind of split on, which is interesting, and Sigrid is one of them. I mean, you all love her, but in terms of what you think of her character, so we'll get there. One thing, though, that you're all in ecstasy about, can you imagine? Can you think of what it is?
Could it start with a B and end with an I-E?
End with an I-E?
Bally?
Oh, you know what? That's one of them.
Oh, this isn't
so there are two things you're all ecstatic about. Well, actually, there are three things you're all ecstatic about. All right. There are three things you're all ecstatic about. Okay, so before we get to Bally, though, the first thing you're all ecstatic about, Frankie is coming back next episode, and everybody started their email with, I know I'm like jumping ahead, but Frankie's coming back. So
Finally.
Yes, Frankie's coming back. You're all excited about that. You started trying to guess what's going on.
You guys are so smart.
You are. So you already devised that she's standing in front of a vending machine, so she's probably in the visitor's room. And
she could be in a hospital too, though.
Well, I guess so, but they all know the vending machine in the visitor's room. And Bridget is talking in the background saying you have a visitor, so you've devised that Frankie is coming to the prison to visit someone, which would actually be clever. TV Week or whoever it was that said Frankie's back in prison, and everybody was worried that she was really back in prison. She's just coming for a visit, I guess.
What a bad tease.
But some of you think she's coming to visit Boomer, and some of you think that she's coming to visit B.
We'll see.
We shall see. Either way,
but none of us really think that she's going back to prison.
I sure hope not, because that's not my preferred direction that her plot should take.
She didn't look very threatened or unhappy.
She was smiling. She had her ponytail.
I mean, I suppose it could have started off that way, and then the next thing you knew, she was going in. You know what?
This is Wentworth. You never know. The other thing, though, that you were extremely ecstatic about is Bridget. People, you see what happens when you give us Bridget. Even 3 tiny scenes, one of which you all said she kind of looked like a piece of the furniture or a prop.
But she was there nodding her head,
she was there. Oh,
smiling.
And how cute was those puppy eyes that she gave to Vera after Boomer left. Again, Katrina Milosevic, that was one of my favorite scenes in the history of Wentworth.
That scene was so beautiful and adorable.
I had more stuff.
It's hard to imagine that she was ever an enforcer.
I think, and several of you have mentioned that you think that her friendship with Maxine really made her a better person.
Softened her.
Yeah, it's a beautiful friendship. But Bridget was there. And she had, finally she was doing what she was supposed to be doing, which is talk to the girls.
Several times, including an extremely important talk that rocked all of your worlds. Fuck the labels. Fuck the labels.
I have to say, I love my label. That being said, I think that people should be free to just be who they are, fall in love with whoever they fall in love with, and all of you loved that scene so much.
Well, it was a great scene. It was a great scene for so many reasons. Because it sent out this particular character saying those particular words had so much resonance for so many people, and it's good for the people who don't, who aren't gay, and to hear someone like Bridget just lay this out in such an easy, simple, beautiful way. The fuck the labels. You love who you love.
Love is love is love is love is love is love.
So it was wonderful and moving, and it was beautifully understated. I thought it was great delivery by Libby, and it meant so much to me and to all of you.
Yeah, and besides the fact,
come on, Missy.
Besides the fact that you all loved that scene and that it meant so much to you, Anne Lore says that to her, fuck the labels really sums up what Wentworth is about and how they really do it in so many ways. That Frankie and Bridget weren't supposed to be together, but they are, and their love is,
love conquered all.
Yeah, even though we can't see it, we assume somewhere in the ether it's there. Maxine, a transgender character that is just one of the girls, completely assimilated. There's no, nothing about that. Frankie, a prisoner who has a hot temper but is studying, to become a lawyer and change her life. B, the straight woman falling in love with another woman, though that's, she's in prison, but nevertheless. Ferguson, who's supposed to represent everything that's right, but turned out to be the worst possible person.
Wrong.
So, in other words, Wentworth doesn't just say fuck the labels, it fucks the labels.
It does. It lives the slogan.
Yeah. And said by Libby, I mean, it's just in her soothing voice, some would say sexy
and
voice.
She has a voice of authority also.
Yeah, and it was just so simple, she saw where B was headed, she saw she was almost ready to leave, and she gave her what she needed to send her off and with a smile. Yeah.
Which you don't see. I don't think I've ever seen B smile in the whole series as much as she smiled in this episode.
It was beautiful.
It was absolutely amazing.
You all seem to be in agreement that Ferguson's visitor next episode is going to be Gianna's son. I don't know how you people pick up on those things. I mean, we just saw a hand.
But didn't she put in a request for
a long time ago? But yeah, I guess maybe finally they traced him.
Ago.
Yeah. Anne Laura also says, I also noticed it, so I'm happy you brought it up. Anyone else notice the time it took for Bridget to talk about dating men? That it was like, in my 20s, I pause, dated. There was an emphasis on the word dated.
Well, I think that she was looking for something that wasn't that revealing. She didn't want to say slept with men, had affairs with men.
On the other hand, Jane brought up a very important point. There used to be a bio for Bridget on the Soho, Foxtel, one or the other website for the series that said that Bridget had been openly gay since high school and is at home with herself. So they had taken it. They've taken it down.
Now there's nothing for Bridget.
No, there's nothing for Bridget. There's nothing for Ms. Miles.
Both Jackie Brennan and Libby are in the end credits with, I noticed,
prisoner number one
or something like that. I think that's highly disrespectful. I think their agents need to negotiate better billing. I think they should be in the front billing.
I mean, Linda Miles, especially, she's been there since the very first season, right? I mean,
they should not be crammed in with prisoner number one.
Yeah. Yes.
I think it's highly insulting, and I think that it's erroneous in every way.
I agree, and we're calling the powers that be to change that. So anyway, the Bridget's bio has been taken down, but it said there that she has been openly gay since high school. So I wonder what did happen in her 20s to make her date men. Unless they they decided to change the story, and that's why they took it away.
Exactly.
But anyway, it is a little bit of a problem there. But we did finally get. It was one line, very elusive and vague. We did get a little bit of Bridget's backstory.
A tiny bit of Bridget's backstory, that she dated men.
So we decided that we were tired of waiting for Bridget's backstory. And we're calling upon your creative juices to tell us what you think Bridget's backstory is. Be as creative, free your mind.
In 200 words or less, if possible.
You know what? Yes, don't write a whole novel, but do tell us what you think.
As succinctly as possible.
Do tell us what you think. Even if you don't want to write a Talking Teal email, though, why wouldn't you? You can just send us an email, subject line Bridget or whatever, and just tell us what you think. We will read out your entries next week on Talking Teal.
I have my own ideas.
Yes, and she's going to write too. You're going to email me, right?
No.
You have to email, because otherwise I don't accept it. Okay. So that's our Bridget challenge, and we'll remind you about it in the end. Here, now we've come to Bally, okay?
Bally. I love Bally.
Can you believe it? She loves Bally so much that she even says Bally.
Yes, and I hate squish words. I hate squish names.
Kaylee says, Kaylee also a first-time writer, I absolutely adore the idea of Bally. I think the way in which the writers have approached the relationship, the caution, the exploration, the intimacy, is outstanding. The light humor in their scenes, this episode felt so real and calm. Danielle's acting of hesitance and the gay panic was right on the mark, and I couldn't think of a better actress to explore this storyline. I really hope that Bee's fate following this episode does not mean the end of Bally.
Me too.
So, now you can tell us all about how much you love Bally.
Me?
Yes.
I love Bally. I also love the fact that Bee is quite a bit older than Kate Atkinson.
Oh, you like that.
Though Kate Atkinson. No.
Kate Jenkinson.
Kate Jenkinson, sorry. Atkinson,
oh, God.
Jenkinson.
Vera and Bee together. No.
Well, it's not the worst thing in the world.
No, I don't
Anyway,
want to see that.
I like that. I think that Allie is much stronger than Bee.
And she's much more mature.
And much more mature.
In that
exactly.
aspect.
But I like the way she handles Bee in that she just sort of keeps going, you know.
Yeah,
but
we can
she plays it right. She gives her a little breathing space, but not too much. And I think they have beautiful chemistry.
Yes.
I think she's very, very good for Bee, and I think Bee is very good for her. I think that I love them together. And also, even though it was the beginning of sort of a very bad thing, that Bee finally found out that Kaz thinks that she's the one who got them locked up.
So, first of all, in regards to Bee being very childlike and very tentative.
Yeah, a lot of people.
Well, most of you loved it. Most of you thought it was very authentic, and that whole I don't know what to do. How many times have we heard that from a new time lesbian? But
how many times have you heard that from a new time lesbian?
I mean, on television.
Okay, just checking.
Well, actually. I have quite a few toasters. But we have heard it a lot, and it can get old. But you all thought that Bee was very authentic and genuine, and just she didn't really know what to do. But a couple of you thought it was a little over the top, the childlike behavior, that it seemed a little bit exaggerated.
But I don't think Bee has ever been in love. I don't think Bee has ever felt these feelings.
And which is the only reason really to be accepting this, because otherwise if it's only about it's another woman, it's like, woman, get over it.
You're in prison for the rest of your life, so get over it. But I think it's because it's the first time she's ever felt these feelings for anyone, both sexually and romantically.
I think so
I
too.
really do.
I think so too, and I think it's a very underdeveloped part in her life.
Definitely.
And with the exception of seeing her with her husband, with the flashbacks, we don't know anything.
Man.
We don't know anything about her childhood, about her life. For all we know, she could have been abused. She could have had her own traumas related to sex that we don't know about, that have also affected.
Well, and she's also said it. She said that she never
but
was
we don't
never
know
interested in sex.
But we don't know where that comes from. We don't know what in her life brought her to this point. With regards to Allie finding out, some of you did think that was a little bit, really? Allie never cared that she was with a person who might be the reason that she's in jail. Leo, for example, said, unless her life on the outside was really, really terrible, then she should be pissed. But I think that, the Red Right Hand saw Bee as their idol. She was their hero. So I think Allie was very much in awe of Bee and kind of admired her.
And Allie is not a vindictive character. Allie is trying to make her stay in prison as pleasant as possible.
Yeah.
She doesn't like to get involved in the politics of it. I think that she fell in love with B, and I remember they don't know for sure that it was B.
Well, and now
it's
they
just,
now they
well,
will
of course,
know. Yeah.
but this is just something that Kaz felt.
Right.
She didn't. She had no way of knowing it. But what again? This was something Joan said.
And you know, talking about that really makes me understand. Also, another thing that I really love about Allie is that even though they have a very strong relationship, she and Kaz, and she feels very much indebted to her. Even though Kaz is a raging, emotional kind of lunatic when it comes to these things, Allie never goes there. She's much more sensible. She follows her. She's part of her crew and everything, but she doesn't get as crazy about these things as she does, and I appreciate that. She's very grounded, Allie.
And she isn't under Kaz's thumb at all.
No, she's not.
No, she's her own person.
Yeah, she has her own. She makes up her own decisions and thoughts about things and conclusions. So
I like that.
I appreciate that. Yeah. So here's the other thing that you were all very split on, and actually, you know what? I think it's kind of us and you. Brittany says, and she echoes a lot of people, that this is the first time she found herself hating Joan. And this is Brittany who said, I think last week, that she was like waiting for Joan to get physical because that excited her.
Be careful what you wish for, Brittany.
Yeah. I found myself hating Joan. The cold, clinical way she dealt with drowning B sent chills down my spine. Nina said that she actually had to mute the television because it physically made her ill to see that scene. A lot of you said that that drove you to the end of your relationship with Joan. We, on the other hand,
I think it's just the perfect portrait of a psychotic. I mean, this is who Joan is.
I think I don't know about you. You tell me how you felt, but when we were sitting there watching it, I thought, this is the Joan I know and love to hate. Oh, finally, here's my Joan. I got excited.
Well, I felt. Can I now talk about this?
Absolutely.
Okay. I thought that this was a huge departure for Joan. Joan doesn't do her own dirty work. She hires someone, she whispers to someone, she manipulates, she bribes, she blackmails. She never does her own dirty work. Except this time it was personal. And she really wanted to do this herself, to the point that who did she think was going to get blamed for this? Was she going to try to convince the powers that be that B tried to kill herself by drowning?
By roofing herself.
By roofing herself. I mean, she would have had blood tests. They would have known that she was roofied. She was the only one, Joan was the only one who wasn't at the protest. This was a very risky thing for her to do. But she had to do this herself. There was a ritualistic tone to it all. She was going to do this herself, no matter what the risk was. And I found that to be quite interesting and quite a departure for Joan, because when you think of it, Joan never does anything herself.
So this is your theory. Now I'm going to say my theory, though they don't have to necessarily be mutually exclusive. I saw it as we don't know what has gone on in Joan's private life. We know that psychopaths, especially the ones that tend to be killers, start when they're very young. They start on animals, or even we saw what you did to that poor fish. We don't know how many people she abused and killed in her own life. When she was governor, she had the tools of the governorship. She could send a guy with a van, or she could, kill Vera's mother in a very, kind of a...
That was the only thing she did. Now that you
Which was an easy way to do it.
We saw, but we can only really judge by what we see,
Yes, but
what we have seen, except for that case,
we don't just judge
Joan not doing it.
We don't just judge by what we see. We judge by the character, and we can extrapolate from what we see and make assumptions on their lives. And especially since psychopaths do have, tendencies. And not all psychopaths are killer, but Joan is definitely one of those.
Yes, but she protects herself. This is the first time she's left herself unprotected.
Yes.
Sorry.
No, I agree about that. That is, to me, a problem. But to me, Joan, the whole ritual, to me, that was Joan feeling at home again. She's been, all these weeks, she's had to depend on whispering in people's ears and see
constantly in every scene.
And see them go off the book because they are not as smart as she is. They're not as OCD as she is. They're not as controlled and as calculated. And so she would whisper to them, but they would go and do their own thing, which was mostly not what she wanted them to do.
Or if it was what she wanted them to do, outside forces
would thwart them. As opposed to when she was governor and she could just make the call and say what has to be done, not just rely on manipulating people's emotions.
But even then, she manipulated Jody. She stick a pencil in her eye.
Absolutely. But then see, this is where she enjoys herself the most.
Right.
So I think to me, this ritual, it didn't seem to me like Joan was doing something that was different to her or new to her. It seemed to me like she was relishing every second of doing something where she felt best at. Now,
well, again, it was very Dexter-like. For those of you who see Dexter, Dexter had his rituals. And to me, this was very Dexter-like, cleaning off the surfaces and getting everything prepared in a certain way. Dexter always did that.
I think we always see on TV shows when we see serial killers, they have their own rituals. They like to They like to do things a certain way,
very neatly, very methodically.
Now we have been told that psychopaths, the ones that are killers, because again, not all psychopaths are killers, and there are, I guess,
and not all killers are psychopaths,
right? That this kind of the reason that they kill, or what they get out of the killing, or what, and one of the reasons that they have these rituals is because they're so void of feeling and the ability to really connect with another person that they need to get to these extreme situations, these extreme measures they need to take to really connect with somebody. And to me, this scene between Joan and B, it was almost loving. It was the most connected I've ever
written
seen.
That way and played that way.
I think she was enjoying every second of it. She was taking her time. She was
in total
making
control.
Yes, she was making it her own. The way that she cleaned, the way that she kind of arranged her hair, the way that she explained to her in detail what was going on in her body, and telling her, I mean, I have to read this. Some of these lines are pure genius. Watching everyone you love, Elizabeth, Maxine, even young Allie, watching them all leave you one by one, or
far worse. This is the one I love.
Yeah, there are two ways.
There are only two ways to die in prison B. You could fall victim to an attack, be left to bleed out in some filthy corner, or far worse, you could grow old.
So it was her. This is what she enjoys more than anything. And the way she grabbed her by her hair and put her in the water, the way she brushed herself off while she was waiting for her to die.
Took her shoes off
and cleaned her wiped her brow and. But you see her in two different extremes. She holds her and then she just lets her drop on the ground. She throws her on the counter, but she's caressing her and petting her. It's just.
Well, Michael had something to say about that, right?
Right. So Michael Lucas said, confirmed to us, because we were especially wondering about her arranging her hair while she was in the water, whose idea it was, whose idea it was to clean the counter. So he confirmed that he wrote it as he described to them as a surreal baptism. And that's Adrian and Pamela working off that idea and coming up with these fabulous little touches that to me, again, are genius. But it was just the description of it as a surreal baptism.
But it was a truly collaborative effort, the way it all played out.
Yeah,
and
it
each
really
brought
looked,
their own things to it.
And it really looked like they were doing something sacred almost.
What it brought to mind for me, and I'm sure many of you know this painting. There's a painting by Sir John Everett Millais called Ophelia, and it's Ophelia because she's on her back, lying in the water, drowned, and her hair spread out all around her, and that was the image that I can say. I wonder if they had that image in mind.
But I love how Heather called it. She said Joan was finger fucking.
I see it as an artistic painting. She sees it as finger fucking. All right.
To each their own references.
Exactly.
Brittany also asked, and several of you have asked this, has Joan now secured the last nail in her coffin for the end of the season? Does this mean that, because all of you are saying, and we agree, that there really is nowhere for Joan to go. She can't stay in general population. Some of you think maybe she'll be in medical for a while, maybe she'll be in protection for a while. Either way, she can't. I don't know if she planned to be on Top Dog, if she planned on being the governor again, if she thought she was going to get off by killing Jesper, by killing B, she's now going to get off. I don't know how she thought this through.
I don't think she thought it through.
If at all.
So
maybe she just had to. She just had to kill B, and it was worth it to her. Who knows? Though it certainly doesn't sound like Joan to throw all caution to the wind, to just succumb to a base desire. I don't know. Yeah, as Jenna points out, now with everything that has happened, surely Joan will be back in protection. It will be very unbelievable if she goes back into the general, and I hope the writers are smart enough not to make something like that so far-fetched. She cannot possibly walk away with all charges dropped against her, with the amount of stuff that she's done. She just simply can't get away with it. I hope not, because she certainly seemed to have gotten away with a lot of stuff up until
I know, and a lot of it was unrealistic.
Yes.
But this is something she can't. I mean, they practically caught her, you should excuse the expression, red-handed. And
she got the red right hand.
She got the red
treatment.
right hand.
And
Exactly.
Sophie immediately after the episode sent me a private message and said, here's what I'm going to say in my email. She got the red right hand treatment. And she probably wanted to just call dibs on it, because everybody, of course, then started doing Kaz fried chicken. No, sorry, Kaz fried Ferguson, and all sorts of little puns and stuff.
I personally was hoping for her face to go in, but
so did everybody, as it turns out.
Oh, good. I'm glad that I'm just not a psycho.
No, I think that she took it too far. But one of the problems now, though they did catch her, but as many of you, okay, so we're seeing in the previews for next week, everybody is saying things like, they're saying that we tried to murder B. So you're all assuming B's not dead. And I think that pretty much all of you think that B is pretty much untouchable in this series. She is the series. However, Vera is heard saying, do you remember anything or something like that? So here's what you are thinking.
She was roofied.
She was roofied, which means that she will not remember the actual attack, which means she will not be able to point the finger at Ferguson for doing it. Though I think it was
pretty obvious.
Yeah.
Kaz caught her holding B under.
She did
because
catch
we
her
saw it from B's point of view.
However,
from the water's point of view, brilliant shot.
Oh, I love that. That was my favorite shot of the whole episode. That seeing her
holding
serene with the music in the background, holding her, like, ah! And then all hell breaks loose.
I mean, she was caught with her hand in the cookie jar in the sink.
We know that in prison you don't tell things. So if they ask Kaz, who did this to B, will she not say, I don't know.
It wasn't just Kaz, though. They all saw it, including
But they're
Allie.
not allowed to snitch. That's the prison rule. Though they're also not allowed to press the panic button, but they did. And
oh, yes, that was, did you say this?
Yes, how ironic that the panic button ends up saving B's life. So those are the theories. First of all, she's been roofied. She won't remember the attack. She won't be able to point the finger at Ferguson. Secondly, she's alive, but she has brain damage, which might mean amnesia. I see a soap opera story here.
Please, no amnesia. Next thing you know, we'll have an evil twin.
Well, so here, the real tricky business here is that people think that she'll have amnesia and she will forget how she feels about Allie. So that will be the end of being Allie, or at least throw a wrench in the relationship.
One would think that she'd be able to stir those emotions up again, since they're real.
I'm just saying the theories that people put out there. And also they're thinking that now B will doubt Allie and question whether or not she was involved in, that she set her up to be attacked.
That sounds realistic, more realistic to me.
Well, but I just want my Bally to get there.
Me too. I keep writing down my favorite scenes, and as it turns out, almost every scene, I said, well, I better stop this, because every scene was so meaningful that it was almost, that they were my favorite scenes. A thing about just going back to B drinking her juice, the way
it
was
juice. It was water.
Well, whatever, tang. The way it was written and shot with the close-ups and the cuts. By the way, the editor was brilliant in this episode. It was like Joan willed her, like with mind control, to go back, and it felt that that's what she had done. She willed her to go back and drink that orange stuff in the glass.
Nina says that the freak got fried, but now she will blame Vera for her owie. Unfortunately, that is she always blames me. Well, if Vera was a better governor, then this wouldn't have happened, and if Vera was a better, a stronger governor, then this wouldn't have happened.
I mean, it's
everybody
totally
seems to care. Everybody's the whole season. That's what's been going on.
Vera was dealing with what she set up to be dealing with, the insurrection, the sit-in.
And I know it, and we know it. But,
well, if we all know it, then it shouldn't happen.
Okay, everybody said how much they loved the fuck the label scene, but Nini put it the funniest. Okay, so I have to read this. Of course, B likes the rules, and she had to check with a professional gay on the block, who is probably getting a monument right this minute somewhere in the gay village of Melbourne, built by the best handicraft dykes in the Southern Hemisphere. And if that is not the case, then what are you all waiting for? Calling out all Rainbow Sheilas. It's okay, B. It's okay to smooch girls. Fuck the labels. I'll sign your membership card next time you're here, and I have to check with Vera about the toaster.
Very cute.
Very cute.
Oh, Nini, you're a caution.
When we love you. This is a sweet little nugget that I didn't know that Sarah told us. Sigrid Thornton apparently was on Prisoner in 1979 to 1980. She was the first prisoner actor to appear on Wentworth. I'm hoping for more of these. That
hopefully not the last.
And her Wentworth character, Sonia, is a composite of two prisoner characters, neither of which Sigrid played. How fabulous is that?
It's fantastic. Again, I just love her. And the Sonia scene with Bridget was really fun.
There are two kinds of women in this world, Bridget. They are the hammers and they are the anvils. I have never seen myself as an anvil. Just wanted to put it out there. Again, the writing. Perfection. Perfection.
And her delight when Bridget walked in the room.
Oh, a human being who has a degree.
Who has a level of intelligence beyond an aspirin
I'm so sorry
tablet.
for the urine smell.
The urine smell. Is it urine?
That's another thing that you were kind of split on.
Right.
So we thought that when she was so happy to see Bridget is because really she finally had somebody at her own level to talk to, as opposed to
perceived at her own level.
Right, as opposed to the nice tea lady. Fuck that,
as she calls
Liz.
So and her best friend, she said, "Isn't that sad?"
So you all, some of you thought the same way that we did. Some of you are questioning all of what she does. When she hugged Maxine, was that real? When she told Liz about her husband, forget about whether or not it's true about her husband, but the fact that she shared it out because she really wanted to share it or because she's playing her. Is she a chameleon? Is she putting on an act for every single person?
Is she a different kind of psychopath from Joan?
I could totally see that.
I could too, but on the other hand, I hope she's not. But I think she is. I think that she killed both her husband and her best friend, who were probably having an affair.
They're certainly setting us up to really love her, so that when it's revealed, I mean,
when she finds out what Liz is doing, that's when we're going to find out.
Yeah, that's when we're going to be in real shock of what she might do to Liz.
What her true powers are.
I'm very worried about Liz.
But as she stands now, I love her.
Yes, I love her.
She's a breath of fresh air. She really is.
She's just so funny and she's so specific. She's just so different from everybody else in that prison. And I love Sigrid Thornton. It's just
she's just wonderful.
Sarah made a point that I really love because I never thought about it. Something just occurred to me. Joan towers over everyone, and yet they never play that card in terms of her power. Pamela always stands perfectly upright and proud as Joan, yet her power clearly lies in her intelligence and her wit, not her physical strength. And yet her height obviously puts her at a subconscious advantage in terms of her intimidation factor.
But they use it cinematically.
Right, which is what I was
just going to say that also one of the best aspects of this, of the many brilliant aspects of this episode, were the point of view shots and the interesting angles and close-ups and, again, angled angled shots, and Joan is often shot towering over her opponents, especially with poor B. And
well, I was thinking specifically about her scene with Kaz in the yard, where Kaz is expressing. Kaz is wearing a little flower in her hair.
Yes.
All of a sudden, she's this flower child. You know, I don't want to kill a woman.
We've never killed anyone.
We've never killed anyone. We'll get to that.
Yes, we'll get to.
But so she's all like being all sweet and this flower child, and all they need to do to remind us who's in charge here, even though Joan has been playing this little girl whispering here and whispering there, who's very, very, small, and all of a sudden you pull out
back.
the long shot, and here is Kaz, and here is Joan, and that's it. And subconsciously you are reminded, okay,
she's a BFG.
Oh, that's what the movie's about.
Yes, but I don't know what the F stands for. Oh, big friendly.
Fucking?
I say big fucking giant,
fucking giant,
but I think it's the big friendly giant. Yeah, she's not friendly.
In terms of the session between Bridget and Sigrid, Sarah says she looks forward to seeing more of that, because if anyone can unmask Sonia, it's Bridget.
Bridget,
absolutely, and
because Libby doesn't take anyone at face value.
Libby or Bridget?
I'm sorry, Bridget. She listens. She's she accepts what they have to say, but she sees beyond their masks usually.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. She called Joan's psychopathy immediately. But there was a problem with that scene, and it was perfect. The problem was, and Sarah was the only one to catch on to this. Bridget was in Sonia's cell having her meeting with her. Cut to, at the same time, Liz is talking to the detective, showing off that she came up with this brilliant cover story that she's meeting with Bridget. Well, excuse me, Bridget is with Sonia right now.
So if anybody put two and two together, though, who knows? I mean, Sigrid is the one who...
Sonia should definitely be able to put two together.
Yes, she's going to realize it.
Now,
that's probably why they did the scene.
Oh, for sure. This is showing us the cracks of Liz's story. And now, as Dee points out, why the hell did they leave it up to Liz to come up with her own cover story? The detective should have come up with it. Bridget should have been told so that they could coordinate.
So that she wouldn't be talking to Sonia when Liz is talking to the detective.
Absolutely. This is, to me, it shows that the detective, everybody involved, well, Vera doesn't really know what's going on, but that this is, they don't give a crap about Liz's destiny. They're going to leave it. Even if they, even when the prosecutor said to be that they have it in writing that Joan will be in protection or whatever after she testifies, I don't believe any of these people.
No, because it always turns out to not be true.
They say it, and then whatever happens, happens.
How many people die when they're being protected by the FBI or the police?
Every time they tell us, you can tell us, we'll protect you. Kiss of death, that's it. You're done. You're dead. But really, this is negligence. This is them. They're gonna leave Liz out to dry, and Liz is all I need to do is get a cupcake and a cinnamon roll. And
really,
I'm happy.
She's so easy.
She is. She's
although that cinnamon
too easy.
Roll last week looked awfully good.
Yeah. Would you give your life for it?
No. No, I could eat it for free, and I don't.
How much did I love finding out that Linda Miles' nickname was Smiles.
That was a very funny scene, too. Why do they call it you vinegar tits? Well, everyone has a nickname here.
Except Linda's is Smiles. So Sarah asks, and we're putting it out there for you all to tell us, what should Jake's name be? Is it Bare Bottom?
I call him Snake.
Let's talk about that bare bottom for a second, because that kind of left me traumatized. I know
I'm an ass girl. I liked it very much.
What
has a beautiful body.
Jake's deal with gay bashing? Not gay bashing. Gay
baiting.
Gay baiting. Will, what does he think that's effective besides turning him off? I don't get that. I don't understand why he's in his face with his all nude and in a towel, and who wants that so close?
Cover that thing up.
Yeah.
Will's always going.
I just don't understand.
Put that thing away.
Besides turning him off, I don't understand what he's trying to achieve. I don't get it. Several of you have questioned why Bridget would be so open about her own private life with B, which is something that psychologists are not supposed to do.
Yes, but Bridget is generous, and she knows sometimes you have to give a little to get a lot. And she really cares about the women. and so she's willing to
well,
take that extra step, just a little step.
Though she was a lot more guarded with Frankie,
Yes,
but as
but
some of you
did.
pointed out, that was probably because she already felt that Frankie was coming on to her. She was having feelings for Frankie, so she was trying to.
But she did say,
things,
"Yes, I'm a lesbian.
Now
can
we move on?" I think personally that there are several things. I think that Bridget has a lot of respect for B, and especially since she's top dog, and she knows that they need to give her extra things to keep her in a good place. I think that she saw that that's what she needed, so she told her the truth.
I think she knows it's a good thing for B to have someone.
Yeah.
She needs someone. She's got the rest of her life in this prison. She needs someone.
Well, and also some of you asked, well, how did B even know she dates women? Well, B and Frankie were very good friends. I'm sure that Frankie told her. And anyway,
everybody
it's not
knew.
exactly. It's not like it was really a secret. Everybody saw them hold hands.
And she was there meeting her. I mean, no.
Yeah. And also, as somebody who's been in therapy, I had a very unconventional therapist who also divulged a lot of her own private life to me. And to me, that was the thing that worked best. She was telling me, you can trust me because I trust you. And Bridget, as somebody who is working with prisoners, I think she's a very unconventional psychologist, and I like that about her. And I want her to continue to be an unconventional psychologist because I think that she's so perceptive and she's so observant that she knows what she needs to give.
Yes, she plays by her own rules within the system.
Yeah, and you have to, because these are different circumstances and different types of
it's not like
people.
Some
Yeah, she's not just working with some neurotic. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, moving on. The scene with B and Sonia in the yard, with B turning around to Sonia and asking, "Will you be okay? Or will you be all right?"
That really shows how soft she's gotten. I mean, I didn't even. She's never. And Sonia's new, but I thought that I was very touched by that moment.
I loved it because, especially since it stood in great contrast to how she has been the entire season, and she just needed a little loving. She just needed somebody to love, somebody to look forward to, something to do. As
sounds like a big drone. Where to fly over?
That was instead of crickets. Now we're going to put planes flying over. So she just needed somebody to love, something to do, something to look forward to, and all of a sudden she's a sweet little girl who cares about everybody else.
Not a sweet little girl. She was being top dog.
No. I like it. They were all alone,
looking after someone in her charge,
and Sonia was the only one of her crew left for her to spend time with that recess. So Robert, who finally wrote a few lines,
although not in an email.
Not in an email. We're taking it at baby steps. Robert really loved the fuck the labels scene, and I think that this is why I always ask Robert to email us, because we want a guy's point of view. It's very refreshing.
He's the only guy we hear from.
He's the only guy we hear from, though we hope that there are more guys out there who are watching us.
If you're a guy and you're watching us, drop us a line.
Anyway, this is just to show that the fuck the labels scene resonated with a lot of people. You don't have to be a lesbian to really appreciate that scene.
Yes, Robert thought it was important for everybody to hear, and that he really admired Wentworth for doing it, and he thought that it was probably one of the most important moments in the series.
I don't think we've ever seen a show does that. Especially in Australia, I think they're a bit behind on their acceptance of LGBT people, so I really
it was a very clear message, and I loved it.
And I think, to me, it was also a message from Wentworth to us, the fans, and maybe the lesbian fans, of, this is where we're going, don't worry, we're heading there. So I like that. Jane found it interesting that it was B who called for the session with Bridget, and it was because of her feelings for Allie, rather than when she was in a very dark place, when she was self-harming, when she was losing control of the women, when she was depressed. So it's interesting that that's what drove her to therapy, rather than all the rest of it.
Well, the rest of it she thinks she can handle.
We were talking about this, but I'll just reiterate. The way Joan starts talking about it with Kaz, about the whole planning.
Who is this?
Jane. The plan to kill B where she says Kaz will have to perform certain functions. It was like it was not only an act of killing Bee, but the entire process that she was relishing. A detached approach. It really reminded me of the euthanasia process rather than the killing. Seriously, who tests out Rohypnol on themselves? Jane Ferguson, that's who.
Well,
She's
an
just so
orchestration.
dedicated and immersed in her plan. It is creepy.
Well, this is her, her orchestration. She's the orchestra leader. Again, this is her usual role. She's the conductor. But this time she was conducting so that she could play the sonata. She could play the symphony herself.
And to me, testing the Rohypnol on herself was almost not even a sacrifice. It was part of. It was like her getting ready. It's, the way she put her, the watch and the pills and the water and the thing all organized. She was like, yay, finally I'm doing, I'm in my element. I can do my thing.
Oh, and I loved the way that scene was shot.
And the music.
You could feel her confusion and her loss of control and
it always controlled still, no matter how much
that last shot with a little bit of drool.
With a drool. Oh, I love that shot.
I was hoping she was dead, but I knew she wasn't. I mean, I love Pamela Ray, but I don't want her to be dead. But I do hate Joan.
This is the fine opportunity to talk about this scene and all of its various elements, because I really have to point out all of these elements. In terms of and of course, the writing, superb, and every decision ultimately goes back to the director. But it is a collaborative effort, as we know, because otherwise you can't orchestrate something so magnificent that works like clockwork without having everybody on board and everybody
doing their part
and
to
putting
perfection.
putting in their expertise and what should be done. First of all, in terms of the cinematography, the extreme close-up. First of all, the extreme close-ups on Bally. It was interesting how I found it to be. Again, you said it built towards the end. The beginning and the end had very similar elements that were in contrast.
Mm-hmm.
So in the beginning, we see Bally with this very dreamy music in the background, which some of you said was the same music that was used in episode 7 for them. So they already have
a theme song, which is what soap operas do. The couples always have their own theme songs that are played when they're together,
so they can evoke the same emotion in you every time. So there was that, and there was the close-ups on them, very, very tight shots. Also in the equipment room, so same kind of general, ambiance and environment. And then in the end, we have the extreme close-ups on Bee, on her eye, on certain elements of her body.
Sort of Hitchcock-like in the psycho drowning scene.
Slow motion.
Stabbing scene in the shower.
Slow motion. The fish eye, kind of seeing it from Bee's perspective, from Bee's point of view, being drugged. Frames with no heads, perfect. Shooting up through the water, which is again one of my favorite things.
Great shots.
The music throughout the episode, the disturbing music during the Rohypnol experiment, the angelic music during the drowning scene, which was again kind of like a sacred religious.
But first, they had that almost strange percussive sound, and then it went to this sort
serene
of
music
kind of.
And then in the end, well, I'll get to that, but. Hearing Ferguson through Bee's ears, so it was kind of through like an aquarium. The cleaning of the counter, the arranging of the hair, brushing the lap, the editing, the makeup for Joan's arm was phenomenal.
That must have been a perfect. What a job of editing that was.
Tracy, who's a nurse, the editing I left for the end because
it really looked like the minute she pulled her up, she went in. Normal and came out burnt to a crisp.
Tracy, who's a nurse and has seen many burn victims, said it looked very real. She could almost smell it. And now let's talk about the editing, because the editing on that final scene especially was just superb.
Unbelievable. The whole episode was edited to a T.
Yeah.
There were a lot of quick cuts.
A lot of intercutting. There was, because you had to bring in all the elements to create the anxiety.
From all over. And it really, really, really worked. But in this scene in particular.
That final shot where you see half and half. You see one side with Bee and all that, one side with Joan and all that.
And it mirrored.
Yeah.
Even though something completely different was happening on each side, it was almost a mirror image effect. It was so amazing.
the choreography of bringing everybody to do all this insane, chaotic scene with all these different people doing different things and all coming together, and then you juxtapose them one against each other. It was just, I mean, seriously, when we think that it's the storytelling that gets us so excited, but there's always the added element. The storytelling has to be expressed visually and in an orally, exactly, to really provoke all of yours, take over your whole sensory experience.
Definitely in Wentworth, the whole
exceeds the sum of its parts.
But its parts. Mm-hmm. Are the whole. You can see it more than anything.
Oh, yeah, I see what you mean.
It
really highlights all these different elements.
It does. It doesn't stop you in your tracks. You don't go, oh, now they're doing this. I remember seeing Al Pacino in an early stage performance on Broadway, and it was so bothersome to me. I hated the performance because I could see his mind working, mm-hmm. and so I could see the work he was doing through the whole performance. You don't see the work in this.
You appreciate it
but
in
hindsight.
But you
appreciate it in hindsight, exactly. I mean, it was
you get so sucked in, you're so enthralled, and by the end of it, you start breaking apart. How did I get here?
Yes.
How did this happen?
Well, and we do that. We go back. I'm sure we all go. We watch it again, and that's when you can see how the elements all work perfectly.
What I mean is. Many people said, and I felt the same way, that it was almost like we didn't even draw breath in the last 10 minutes of the episode. And to me, it was like, it was so building until the climax. And then in the end, I was like, how did this happen?
Oh my God.
Okay, now I need to figure this out.
I have here a note too that the noise at the very end when she was dying was like the death keening of a Greek chorus.
Well, what I love about that, and I also wrote that down, it was all the elements. So there was the screaming, there was Allie screaming, which all of you said broke your heart and like was gut wrenching. Allie screaming, Kaz screaming at Joan screaming because she just had her arm. I think the panic button wailing in the background. The music, there was almost like it sounded to me like a mosque calling for prayer. It was all of these things.
It just
put
rocked
together.
Your senses. It really did. It was almost too much. And yet it was
just
perfect.
Right.
Exactly.
Jane also says, and I think you said that too, that it reminded her of a morgue or a funeral home when they're prepared to embalm the body.
Right. And because many morticians do it with great, again, I go back again to things I've seen on television and the great care that they take with the bodies and the preparation, the great respect.
Again, it's like sacred.
Sacred, mm-hmm. Exactly.
And we were, none of you asked this, but we were asking each other, when Joan was telling her, this is my gift to you, do we, I mean, we never know if to believe Joan, but do we believe that there was an element of that in there? That there was an element of...
Well, it did seem there was some love in that. There was something going on.
But did she love... But did she love? But did she give her love, or did she love her for giving her that pleasure of that?
You never know. But again, it was a private moment. So a private moment is unless she knew she was hearing her, so she was doing it.
Yes. And that is another thing.
For B's.
Well, did she have to calm her down? She didn't have to calm her down. No. She was already incapacitated, which is by the way.
But she wanted her to hear. She wanted her to know certain things.
Which is, by the way, the choice of using roofie, where you completely incapacitate a person, they can't put up a fight, but they're conscious, fully aware, because that is her. That's where she can play with her.
Yeah, she wants to torture her like a cat with a mouse.
Yeah, that's part of the game. That's part of her excitement. I mean, the one fly in the ointment about the whole episode and scene, as Dawn points it out, but many of you have said this, that it was very unrealistic for Joan to continue to have free reign in the prison. She walks around.
She goes anywhere. She does anything. Yeah. She's completely free. There should be somebody on her ass every minute.
Yeah. It was very convenient. Throughout the season, this is the one thing that we have kept pointing out, but we're not going to let it ruin our experience.
No. And in this episode, too, it was there was Joan, and almost every scene, like a puppet master pulling the strings. But in this episode, that was necessary because she was setting the scene, getting ready for her big scene, the big final, the death scene.
So, Sophie and Lori, being the good friends that you are, it's very fitting that you have a question and an answer, or a question and an added question, whatever. You both asked the same question, is my point. And so Sophie says, so the Red Right Hand never killed anybody apparently, which we already. So who killed B's husband? We always assumed that the Red Right Hand, killed B's husband. And Lori expands on that, and she says, "I'm thinking Joan had it done to set up Will Jackson. Maybe that's why Kaz got 12 years instead of 18 months, because murder, of course, has much longer sentence than battery. And Joan set her up for that. Maybe Kaz was expecting to be proven innocent, that she didn't kill him, but
she did. Someone did set Will up. I think it was Joan.
Well, Joan set Will up, but we always assumed they made us assume. I mean, obviously,
it was actually
we're not the only ones thinking that Kaz and the Red Right Hand were the ones who killed him. So if they never killed anybody, I think that's what they meant for us to start questioning. Kelly is the one who said that it was ironic that the panic button may have saved. Well, we assume it saved B.
That brought Will, who actually did the CPR that brought her
right.
If she's alive.
Yeah. Well, we assume.
And I think she is. Yeah. Would have brought her back to life.
Lotta, our second Swede, goes back to fuck the labels, and she says, if Libby Tanner said that to me, I would be the happiest of all of us.
Well, wouldn't we all?
Well, let me tell you this. I know that it's Bridget who said it. I know that it's Michael Lucas's lines, but if Libby could have, she would have told
believe
you that.
Me.
Yeah.
It's exactly how she feels.
Yeah. Leo, a first-time writer. By the way, Dawn was a first-time writer. There were so many first-time writers. I'm sorry I didn't point them out. Leo.
Thank you for writing, Leo.
Yes, one of my best friends. And this is another reason I love your emails so much, because you all bring your own expertise, your own fields of professions, your experiences. Mm-hmm. Leo knows quite a bit about physicality, because physicality. She was a gymnast, and her mother is an expert, and
she's a biologist, right?
Yes, and she. I never even thought of it. She was pointing out Danielle Cormack's physical acting in this scene with Ferguson, because she said, acting is pretending to not have muscle power to pull you up. It's very hard. It's even painful, and the way that she's dropped onto the floor like that,
and she fell.
Yeah,
without any stopping herself, she just let herself.
She probably had a lot of bruises after that scene, and to do it in such a gradual way, the Rohypnol took time to take full effect. So at first she's groggy, and then she's losing control over her body, and then she's completely incapacitated. And let me tell you,
and she still lunged at Joan.
And in that final moment where you see her face and she's supposed to be dead or almost dead, she looked
so believable.
This was the deadest dead person I've ever seen on television.
And it was a pretty long shot,
which was probably also a testament to the makeup. The makeup was superb on her on that one. So I loved, again, kind of thinking about that. Oh, that's another aspect I never thought of before. So thank you, Leo. And Leo, being an Orphan Black fan, of course, says...
As should we all be.
She can't think of another way for Joan to be constantly everywhere, at every point, at every time, whenever something happens, unless she has clones. So she says, please take away the Joan clone, if they haven't already evaporated now that their mane got hurt. So
Orphan Teal.
Also, Leo was asking, how did Nurse Ratched... I don't know which one it is. Some of you call her Nurse Ratched. And some of you call her Nurse Ratched.
Well, Nurse Ratched is,
yes, I know.
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
But some people call her Nurse Ratched.
Well, like maybe they do it as a...
I don't know which one it is.
As a takeoff. So.
But anyway, how come she never noticed that the watch disappeared immediately after
She's not
Joan?
too bright.
And we've been asking what her purpose in the
what is her deal?
Maybe she's just there for color, literally. I don't know.
Could be.
Usually
I wouldn't think that they would hire somebody quite so glamorous for a woman's prison.
Well, Vera has repeatedly asked her to take her makeup off. Mm-hmm. Well, that shows how much power Vera has. Denise says that, of course, she loves Bea and Allie together, and if the relationship was only written for this season, she hopes that Bea does get a love interest that sticks around instead, and she prefers for it to be Allie. But if that's not the way that it was written, and that's not where they're headed, then she hopes that Bea does get to have a relationship afterwards.
Well, I hope that's where it's headed because I love them together.
Yeah. Tracy posits that maybe Sonia is innocent. I think we all kind of assume that she isn't, but maybe her husband's disappearance was orchestrated by her best friend who is missing now. Maybe they had an affair and they wanted to both disappear. Or she says maybe her friend's 2 children killed their mother and pinned it on Sonia.
Well, maybe they disappeared to pin it on Sonia, though. Someone's got to run. Well, I don't know.
Maybe they just were having an affair. They wanted to get away from her. Maybe I think she's a very hard person to get away from.
I think they could have just left her.
Yeah, well, I personally think
all this trouble.
I personally think she killed them.
Me too.
I mean, it's been 7 years. Her husband died 7 years ago. The cancer diagnosis was never recorded anywhere.
Did they find his body?
No, I don't think so. I think he disappeared. Yeah. So, Eva, who by the way says hello, Lini, wonders how Doreen is going to feel now, and is everything that happened, is that going to make her go back to being with Bea?
Dumb Doreen.
The thing is, I didn't even think about Doreen the entire episode, with the exception of, oh, gee, thanks, Doreen, for coming to wish Maxine good luck.
Sliding in at the last minute.
At this point, do we even care about Doreen? As long as she stays away and stops whining.
The thing is now she has something to whine about, but it's like the boy who cried wolf. Who cares at this point?
Well, and there's so much going on that, I mean, I understand
her problems.
It's her private life, and it's important. I mean, I understand as a mother that it's so hard to think about your child out there. You're not there to be with him, and he's bonding with somebody else already. So I understand, but But it was the lead up to that where I just wanted to slap her.
And the fact that she still don't understand why she switched sides. I still don't get that.
Spoiled brat. Camille, also first-time writer, says that she said at the beginning that Allie is top dog material. There's fireball underneath that sweetness, but there's something there that she still doesn't 100% trust.
Well, she is an addict. And there's always
there's
always that thing with an addict that they can always go back. I
still don't see her as a top dog.
I have that Bea is the perfect top dog. I see her as being like Hillary. You have to know how to work.
Somebody tell Hillary that she's just been.
She's top dog.
She's just been. Yes. You know what? Hillary is top dog material.
She is top dog material because you have to know how to work with all factions.
Please don't talk about Hillary going to prison now that she's being interrogated by the FBI. Thank you.
She's been exonerated.
I know, a million times.
Anyway,
yes.
You have to know how to work with all factions. You can't just work with your own people. You have to know how to work with all factions so you can get things done to benefit the whole and to especially benefit the people that you care most about. You can't just work with your own people. Right. So I think Bea, like Hillary, is the perfect top dog. Okay, well, speaking of top dog material, how much did we love the line from Liz about please Bea don't get slaughtered because then I'll be top dog and then we'll all be fine. Yeah, that's so great. That was every line. I mean, there weren't much throwaway lines. There wasn't a second in this episode that was not fully realized and fully taken advantage of. I just love Tina out condescending Joan. Yeah. That was just, to me, one of my favorite moments in the whole thing. Heather says, I love this paragraph, so I'm just going to read it as it is. While this episode was awesome, I also found it to be quite tragic and sad. I want Bea to be happy. I want her to have love and joy. Everything Joan said to her, though, I had already thought about. The fact that one by one, everyone would leave her, including Allie, is heartbreaking. Bea is in jail because of abuse and because she killed the man who killed her daughter. She's in jail because of protecting herself and for taking the life of a fucker. I think it resonates with me because given the same circumstances, I don't know that I wouldn't have done the same thing. I guess we can all hope that some miracle will happen and Bea will get out and right into the sunset.
I don't think a miracle is going to happen. I think the only way B will ever leave that prison will be death. I don't know
Feet
if
first.
it's... Yeah. I don't see how B can leave. And yes, it is. She's a tragic figure.
She is a tragic
She's
figure.
Definitely
And
a tragic figure.
that's another reason it's so great.
Yeah.
It is. It's like kind of like Greek tragedy.
Mm-hmm.
It's Shakespearean in its stature. It's just epic.
Epic!
Epic.
I love that word.
Me too.
Heather says about the preview, we're seeing that Kaz and Allie will finally confront Kaz. Heather says, though, that she thinks Kaz may have already figured out that Allie and B are together, because if Joan picked up on it, if Maxine picked up on it, how could Kaz not? Well, I'll tell you how not. Kaz is so not observant. If she had been, everything would have been different.
Well, Kaz is very, strangely enough, she can be very strong, but she's also so easily manipulated. Yeah. I mean, she's like a little thing in the wind, a feather in the wind. You blow this way, it goes this way.
Well, no, you just need to whisper, abuse. Right. That's all.
But, you know, that, anyway, she's very easily manipulated. And I find that to be a slight flaw in her depiction.
Yeah, because it takes away from our ability to really respect her and love her and appreciate her. Because I love her, I really want to be there.
She's got the right ideas. She's got the right ideals, but she shouldn't. I can't see her being this easily manipulated.
She just doesn't seem very smart.
Yeah, exactly. Unfortunately, that's true.
Speaking of Maxine, though, figuring it out, we all equally loved how Maxine told B to just go for it right before she goes on her. First of all, how Maxine it is to think of somebody else while she's going
off to have a double mastectomy.
That was a beautiful, beautiful scene. Oh yeah, we're gonna practice pack. That was not that scene, but that reminded me of. Let's go practice pack. It was just so gorgeous. It was. I think we all kind of shed a tear.
Again, the episode had a lot of light, heartfelt. Beautiful moments into it, building to this horrific end.
Yeah. Emily says this episode will go down in Wentworth history as one of the best.
I think so.
And she says that the original B on Prisoner lost her memory for a while. It was because of a car accident while she was being moved between prisons. So there is a memory loss history for B. So who knows? Maybe they'll bring it back this time. She also says, Emily, that she wonders how Kaz will now react to this, and if it will make her try to make up to B for putting her through all this.
It should.
Yeah, we'll see.
Well, again, I think that B never handled Kaz very well.
I agree.
She should have been. She should have enlisted her more as an ally rather than always being so hostile to her.
Laurie is very happy that Bridget did not downplay B's feelings or condescend her by explaining that she was just falling in love with him because it was prison and the circumstances. That she was really supportive of her and encouraged her. And again, I think this is just Bridget, and this is why we love her so much.
Condescending is not Bridget's modus operandi, except maybe to Joan.
And we love it when she does that.
No, she's there to help. She's there to be supportive, and she's so smart. She knows what they need,
and she's so full of heart and soul.
Yes.
And again, people, see what happens when you give us Bridget. I mean, this was not a whole lot of Bridget.
No,
it was a little bit of Bridget, but at least she was doing what she was supposed to be doing, with the exception of that scene where she was a prop. And
it was meaningful. It was very meaningful, and you gave us one of the most meaningful
lines of the whole
speeches of the whole series.
Yeah. So more Bridget. More Bridget. Or as Laurie says,
more Bridget.
We love Bally so much, we love Bridget so much. How about putting them both in the same episode? Now, people are hoping that since Frankie is coming back next episode, we're finally going to get some Bridget scenes.
We'll see.
Let's hope, because it's been a long, long drought.
Yes, it has been.
A few of our favorite lines and scenes, as we like to do. Boomer saying that Doreen may have postnatal oppression.
So funny.
Ferguson trying to goat Kaz into helping her out by saying that B stole these women's childbearing years. Childbearing years?
Excuse me.
Seriously?
Like Joan cares, and like that's the first thing in their mind.
Oh gosh. Boomer saying to Ferguson, "Fuck off," and that's 5 times I think that she said.
Fuck off.
Fuck off.
Fuck off.
And
which everybody should be saying to Ferguson, by the way.
We don't deal with governors. Anyway, this was really beginning to end a phenomenal
stunning episode. Absolutely stunning in every way.
Wentworth at its best. This is what Wentworth does best.
Thank you. Thank you to everybody involved at Wentworth for this episode.
We just want to remind you we have our Bridget
challenge.
Tell us what you think Bridget's backstory is. Either incorporate it in your Talking Teal email for next week, or write us an email especially for it. Even if you don't want to talk at all about Talking Teal or about Wentworth, just send us that.
Robert, give this a try.
As many of you, please write to us. We want to hear as many of you as possible, and we will talk about them next week. And again, if you have any thoughts about the live broadcast, about the theme song, about what Jake's nickname should be, then email us at ladypartsvlog@gmail.com. And we have a new episode of Wentworth upon us, and how exciting is it?
I can't wait to see the aftermath.
So we will be here next week to discuss all of that and all of your emails. So we look forward to it. Have a fabulous week.
And happy 4th of July,
happy 4th
America.
Of July.
And to the Brits, we're sorry, but you win some, you lose some.
Bye.